Am I the idiot for breaking up with my boyfriend after his family blamed me for his financial problems? I, a 31-year-old female, have been dating my boyfriend, a 29-year-old male, for 9 months. He was previously married and co-owned a house with his ex. During the time we have dated, I have worked full-time and he has been unemployed. Due to his unemployment, he couldn't afford his house, so he had to sell it, and his truck was repossessed due to lack of payments. He said he had nowhere else to go, and living with his family was not an option at the time, so he moved in with me in the house I was renting under the agreement that we would split the rent and utilities 50-50 since we were living together. The money he got from selling his house went to paying back his truck repossession, several credit cards, alimony, and he was left with not a lot after everything was paid. But he splurged on trips to the coast, dining out, buying a small car, and all kinds of non-essential accessories for the vehicle like window tinting, a muffler and exhaust, a new computer gaming system, and then he was broke. I warned him many times about his excessive spending and that he needed to get a job and income because he was burning through the money he had left, and it wouldn't last, especially at his spending rate. He ended up with an injured back during the move and couldn't work, and so his financial contribution to rent and utilities never happened. I stepped up for as long as I financially could until I was tapped out. Then we had to move. I ended up renting a small single room from a friend, and he had to move in with his grandmother. Now we live about 3 hours apart. His parents and sister don't like me now because they see it as I asked him to move in, and then I lost the rental because I was irresponsible with finances. When his back was injured and he had to be taken to the hospital in an ambulance, I went with him and stayed overnight at the hospital until I had to get back to the house for the movers that were coming and the carpet cleaning company that was arriving. His family called me a selfish person who just left him in the hospital. I told them all that I would be back at the hospital after the movers and carpet cleaning people left in a few hours, but his family continued to call me names. I offered them to come visit their son in the hospital if they were so concerned that their adult child couldn't be left alone, and they said I was crazy because they have to work and can't just drop everything. Now he has moved in with his family 3 hours away, and I came to visit over the weekend on my days off. I was pretty tired since I drove up after working all day, and I slept in the following morning. His mother said she was disappointed in me, and being an adult means making the right choices, and that I am not being responsible, and if our relationship is going to go the distance, then I'm going to have to think differently. My boyfriend agreed with her and said that I don't think logically, and that he has a lot of thinking to do. I feel so judged by his family, namely his mother, and I feel like my boyfriend is judging me behind my back too. I feel uncomfortable with his family now, and I don't trust my boyfriend now. I feel hurt, taken for granted, manipulated, and used. My family and friends are telling me to break up with him, but I'm wanting unbiased advice, not about breaking up, but how do I address his family's treatment and judgment toward me and call my boyfriend out on his two-faced act. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You do not have a family-in-law problem. You have a boyfriend problem. He is either feeding them complete nonsense, and that's why they think you're the irresponsible one, or he's just letting them think it because it's easier than facing his own mistakes. I do not need this answer, but I urge you to sit down and ask yourself, what are you actually getting out of this relationship? It doesn't sound like much. That's why your family and friends want you to free yourself. Comment 2. Here's our unbiased advice. Break up. What kind of relationship are you even trying to save here? He's chosen his family over you. In a way, his mother is right. You're not making the right choices or being responsible about yourself. You're in an unhealthy relationship with a mama's boy who will not change for you. Now, for the update, I'm still living in a small room and it's been a week since my last post. The financial stress is really getting to me. I don't know how much longer I can handle this. One day, my boyfriend calls and asks to meet up to discuss our situation. He says he needs to apologize. So, we end up meeting at a diner near my place. Honestly, I didn't have high hopes. He arrives looking all messy and tired, like he just rolled out of bed. It didn't escape me how he used to always dress nicely. He admits he hasn't been able to find work and feels overwhelmed by his family's expectations. He mentions how his mom has been pressuring him to get a stable job and settle down. I can see he's struggling, but I can't help but feel annoyed. He made his choices, and now I'm paying the price. Our conversation shifts to our relationship, and he suggests we should consider moving forward together. In my head, I'm screaming. We can't even move forward with our lives, let alone our relationship. We leave the diner, and he insists on walking me home. He tries to hold my hand, but I pull away and remind him of our current situation and the distance between us. It's hard to get close to someone when you're 3 hours apart. He proposes a weekend trip to his grandma's house to reconnect and clear the air. I reluctantly agree, hoping this might help mend our relationship. I don't know why I keep giving him chances. At his grandma's house, the atmosphere is so awkward. His family is skeptical about my presence. His grandma serves dinner, and his mom makes these snide remarks about me not being supportive. I try to engage, but his family's coldness makes me feel so unwelcome. During dinner, his brother casually mentions how their parents expected him to marry someone else. I'm just sitting there, trying not to react. I can't believe his family is talking about this in front of me. After dinner, my boyfriend pulls me aside, frustrated with his family's attitude. He suggests we go for a walk to talk, leaving his family behind. While we're walking, he brings up the idea of getting a joint bank account to manage finances together. He insists it would show commitment, but I point out the financial mess we're in. I mean, seriously, we can't even afford to live together. We return to the house, where his mom confronts us about our future plans. He claims we're discussing getting serious, but his mom reacts negatively. She says she doesn't want him to end up with someone who holds him back. He's like, let's leave, but his mom starts causing a scene. We leave quickly, and I feel so embarrassed as we drive back to my place. The next day, I get a text from his brother calling me a bad influence. I can't even believe what I'm reading. My boyfriend tries to reassure me, saying his family is just protective. Protective? More like judgmental. I decide to meet my own family for lunch to vent and seek support. Honestly, I needed it. A week passes, and I feel increasingly isolated as my boyfriend spends more time with his family. He invites me to a family barbecue, but I decline. I just feel unwanted and judged. A few days later, I find out through social media that his family is planning a big family event without me. I'm just like, great, more exclusion. My boyfriend calls, trying to persuade me to come, but I stand my ground. We end the call with tension, and I realize we're at a breaking point. A final text arrives from my boyfriend saying he needs space to figure things out. I just don't know what to do anymore. Edit. I made the decision to break up with my boyfriend. After his text about needing space, I realized how much I had been tolerating in this relationship. His mixed signals, lack of support, and family's judgment were too much for me. I deserve better, and am focusing on my own happiness. Now for the next story. I think that there are a lot of layers to this situation that make it feel like this has to be the end. My partner and I have been together for over 9 years, and honestly, the first 4 to 5 years were awesome. I had genuinely never felt this way about anyone in my life, but things started going south after that. I started to realize that he always had an excuse for not helping me cook or clean the house, no matter how much I begged and pleaded for help. He started making me feel like going to see my family was inconveniencing him. He makes snide remarks the whole time and just makes the entire trip miserable to the point of me crying. I know it might sound dumb, but I've even started having panic attacks because of how bad he makes the holidays. He doesn't attempt to communicate in a healthy way, and it honestly feels like he waits until the very last moment to apologize. If he does, I've been at the last straw mark for a few years now, but I always end up forgiving him because, I love him. It's kind of like the saying, when it's great, it's really great, but when it's bad, it's really bad. Okay, so now let's move on to a few days ago when he lost his temper in public over a sandwich. We had the same day off, so we decided to run some errands and go to a sandwich shop for lunch afterwards. Honestly, the first half of the day was great, until it was time for lunch. We walked in, and because it was noon, the place was packed, and unfortunately, there was only one person working, so we had to wait in line for about 20 minutes. Is it frustrating waiting in line that long? Yes, but I tried to make things as positive as I could because I know he gets irritated easily. We kind of overheard the employee tell others in front of us that some ingredients were either completely out or just gone bad. It honestly could have been because of the hurricane outage the week before. We didn't get hit horribly, but some did lose power. I'm also not 100% sure what was going on. Also, for a little backstory, I had an ex who worked at this particular sandwich chain, and he got me onto this sandwich that I've been eating since I was about 18 or 19, and I introduced it to my current fiance, and we just always get the same thing anytime we go there. So finally, it's our turn, and we get everything started: bread, meat, cheese, and throw it in the toaster. She brings it out, and I tell her the next ingredient: lots of spinach. She looks at me and breaks the news that the spinach has gone bad. Bummer. But, whatever, it's not the end of the world, right? My fiancé standing next to me goes, "Are you serious? Dude, this is ridiculous. She did this on purpose. We're leaving. Come on." And then just storms out and leaves me standing in the shop while everyone in the entire place stops and either watches the situation or looks uncomfortable. Just think of how you feel when you see a disruptive customer in a store, but it was my partner. I just want to throw this little side note in here. I have extreme social anxiety as well, and he is absolutely aware of the severity of it. So I'm standing there and quietly tell the employee that he's upset, and I think we might just head out, and she hits me with a, "Nah, if you leave, I'm calling the police." My anxiety gets even worse. The police, what? I look at my phone, and my partner has texted me, "Get that food and we're done." The police, and I'm being broken up with? I texted him that he left me in a bad situation, and he knows how bad my anxiety is, and then the employee hits me with, "I can't believe you would come in here, know that we're low on ingredients, and then waste the little that we have." I mean, she's right though. I was seriously just going to get lettuce instead of spinach, but now I'm standing there being threatened by everyone for something that I didn't even do. I get another text from my partner, "Forget it, find someone else to come and get you." Great, I'm now stranded here. I finish building the sandwiches, pay, and try to hide behind my bag of food, hoping that he's still there, and thankfully he is. Unfortunately, he decided to take out his anger on me for about 15 minutes straight. The whole ride home, this man blamed me, told me that I'm not a team player, and that I chose my side. While screaming at me at the top of his lungs, I was bawling. I haven't spoken to him in like 3 days. He sent me a text about how sorry he was, but I'm feeling fed up with all of it. I also have a family event tomorrow that I guess I can't make because he's got the only vehicle, so I'm going to have to disappoint my family once again. I'm just stressed out and I'm not sure what to do anymore. If you've made it to the end of this, thank you for just letting me vent, and if you have any advice, I would love to hear it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Complete side note from the obvious relationship problem. What kind of place threatens to call the police on you for canceling an order halfway through because you decided you didn't want it, after they revealed halfway through they were out of stock of an important ingredient? You mentioned your area was affected by a hurricane last week. The police are probably still busy sorting out that mess, far too busy to come down to a sandwich shop and do what? Arrest you for canceling a food order? Comment 2. All of this is unacceptable. You are not responsible for his behavior, and the clerk, who had every right to be angry at him, had no right to threaten you with the police. Dump him, but don't go back there. Do you know what the police say when they get called out to a restaurant because someone has decided they don't want an order because they were informed after the order began that an essential item is not in stock? They say, "Why the hell did you call us out here? You did nothing wrong." Now, for the update. A month has passed since the sandwich shop incident. My life has been a mess, and not the fun kind. It's been over 3 weeks, and I thought my partner would have calmed down by now, but nope, we're still not talking. Not a word, not a text, nothing. It's like living with a really moody ghost. I needed a distraction, so I signed up for a cooking class at the local community center. I figured if I was going to be miserable, I might as well make some good food while I was at it. The first class was awkward at first, but then I met a few friendly people, including this cool person named Sam. Sam was great, and they shared these hilarious stories about their family and how they handle conflicts. They made me realize that not all families are like mine. Hearing about Sam's family made me feel a little less alone. The cooking class quickly became my escape from this nightmare I call home. I looked forward to it every week, chopping vegetables and stirring sauces while pretending my life was perfect. Everything was going pretty well until one evening after class. I was covered in flour and smelled like garlic, living my best life when I got a text from my partner wanting to talk. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Now?" So, we met at this nearby diner. My partner walked in looking like a total mess and not the cute kind. They were visibly upset, and I was instantly on edge. We sat down, and my partner accused me of moving on too quickly and not caring about our relationship. Like, seriously? I told them I was just trying to find a distraction and that it wasn't about moving on. I thought they would understand, but nope. Then they suggested that we go to a couples therapy session to work on our issues. I didn't want to, but I agreed because I was desperate for some clarity. The first session was awkward. My partner opened up about feeling unsupported and isolated. I shared my struggles with their behavior and how it crushed my spirit. The therapist guided us through exercises to improve communication, which we clearly needed. After a few more sessions, my partner started showing some willingness to change. It was a small miracle. We began working on household responsibilities together more effectively, which felt like a win. One night, my partner surprised me by cooking dinner, trying to mimic a recipe we learned in class. I appreciated the effort, but I noticed they still had moments of anger that snuck up on them. During one of those moments, we got a family dinner invitation. My partner refused to attend, saying they felt uncomfortable. I decided to go alone because I was tired of missing out on family events. At the family dinner, I confided in my parents about all these relationship struggles. They were supportive and encouraged me to stand firm and prioritize my well-being, which I definitely needed to hear. After returning home, my partner confronted me about attending the dinner alone. I explained that it was important for my family connections, but they weren't having it. They reacted defensively, claiming I was choosing my family over them. I pointed out that their behavior was pushing me away. The argument escalated, and my partner threatened to leave if things didn't change. I was done with ultimatums, so I stood firm and said I wouldn't tolerate that crap anymore. The next day, my partner left for a weekend trip without discussing it. When they returned, the atmosphere felt different, like something had shifted. My partner expressed a desire to try again, but needed space to think. I agreed, but I set some boundaries about communication and respect. We both knew we needed to take a break from each other. A week later, I got a message from my partner asking to meet. We met at the community center, where I take the cooking class. It was kind of surreal. My partner admitted they realized the relationship needed serious work, mentioning the importance of mutual respect. I acknowledged the effort and suggested we take things slow. We both agreed to continue attending therapy and focus on improving communication. So that's where I am now. Still a work in progress, but at least we're trying. Edit. A lot of people are asking about the cooking class, so I want to clarify that it takes place once a week on Thursday evenings. It's a basic cooking class, but I've already learned a lot, like how to chop onions without crying and how to make pasta from scratch. It's been a nice break from everything at home. I plan to continue attending, even though my partner has expressed interest in joining, as I don't want to give up this time just for them.